Hello, hello. Happy Tuesday, August 5th, 2025. It is a balmy 82 something degrees in Appleton. I'm just wondering when this, I know it's beginning of August, waiting for this temperature spell to end. I guess that's what you get for growing up in a cold state. You just, this kind of stuff is too much. The Brian Anderson, the plain water. Jiggery pokery to you. I haven't written that down on my sheet here in a while, but I still have it. I got it over on the side table. Check something here. Make sure my volume is good. All right. Let's see. What's today's update? I know there's a couple people. I'll wait for the update. No, I'll give the update. I've been working. We're getting real close with the website. Made some significant progress today. Unfortunately, a lot of times you can only do so much, and then you're passing something off to somebody else for them to tackle, which means you got to wait a day. Good afternoon, Hans. Thank you for adding to my already excessive desk set collection. I'm going to have to like stealthily add those to my existing pile of desk bases. So Lisa doesn't. She should be happy with me because that's how I'm going to sell 4 pens. And especially with dipless pens, there's almost nothing you need to do. You clean the top part out, you make sure the nib writes. There's no filling system to speak of. The base is the filling system. So, and I got plenty of desk pens now. So, the only way I'm going to sell those is with bases. So, appreciate it. You let me know if you need me to send you money or do whatever you got to do. My SAC order is scheduled to get here. We'll see. I'm not certain that my supplier has ever hit a deadline. Yeah, we'll figure it out in the future. But it's supposed to be here a week from today. I've never seen him hit a deadline, ever. Um, yeah, it'll all come to fruition. I'm sure. In fact, it's due. I think September 1st would be ambitious, unless he's already got them sitting around, or half of them, or I mean, I don't know. Sometimes he's not too bad. I mean, sometimes he's really pretty close, but usually it's a 3 or 4 email chain where I have to ask him, and the date keeps getting pushed back. But um, is what it is. What was I going to say? Don't remember. All right. But good to have you back. It sounds like the DC show was successful. I'm still waiting to hear. See, I swear, there was talk of a red and black modeled hard rubber Schaefer. Did I hear that correctly? Because if I did, I think it's criminal. Yes, I think it's criminal to not at least send me a picture. Now, if you don't want to share with the class, the hotel forward will say, yeah, they always are, right? If you don't want to share with the class, that's fine. I understand. Too bad to send. It's never too bad. We're talking about something that's only a few people will ever get a chance to have. I mean, how many of them are there? Really? And realistically, there's not that many. No. Don't trouble yourself. I'm just giving you grief. Very few that are clean. Yeah, that aren't cracked, right? Because for whatever reason, the Schaefer implementation of that was very fragile. Very short-lived too, from what I understand. And maybe that's why. So they must not have been popular. Which is what was the time frame? I mean, because you've got Waterman doing it. I mean, Waterman was great, and they made him for a long time. Early, yeah. Sorry, I've got a piece of wire. There it is. Stuck in my My thing here. First 2 to 4 years of production. Yeah, it's still. I mean, it's weird. It's weird, right? Because Waterman was certainly making them quite early. And were they not popular for Waterman, or at least reasonably so, they wouldn't have continued on for as long as they did. And then morphed into wood grain. You maybe only 1 year. You don't see them. Do you see one a year going to many shows? Yeah, usually not. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's in my grand list of things, it's like way in the back. Oh, a friend had it for you. Okay, yeah, and that's how these things change hands, right? That's really on the it was like the 58's been on the list. There's a list, a mental list of things that you would like to acquire over time, and that for Schaefer, that's one of them. The slotted or the night and day, so to speak, overlay, which I stupidly passed on one year in I think it was in is it in Raleigh? Might have been in Raleigh a long time ago. There was one there and it wasn't nice enough. What a dummy I was. It wasn't nice enough and I didn't buy it. And it was priced right. It was priced right. I think in place of that year, I bought, if memory serves, a sterling silver. Was going to tax the mind here. Sterling silver diamond point. I think that's what it was. Which, in and of itself, is not usual. It's not a normal find. It's not even in the same league as a slotted or night and day Schaefer overlay. I might have bought an. I might have bought. I think the guy also had. If I need one, you might know of a pair available. Yeah, I mean, I want to say that the price at the time was like $200. No, it was no more than 250. I'm certain. I think he had also right. Again, it was not in great condition. There was damage to the overlay, of course, and I was kind of like, well, can I find a better one? Maybe. And I think I bought from him a different Schaefer overlay, a full overlay in gold fill instead of that one. But it's like my first DC show. I remember, long time ago, 2008, I think it was. I had just, and this is going to sound weird, but go with me here. I had just gotten into a bicycle accident. I had a young lady who had just, like, I think she was 16 or 17, and just gotten her driver's license. There was a road that kind of curved. It was like kind of like a 90-degree curve to the left. And then there was a street at that junction. So you would normally go to the left, but then there was a street on the right. And she was going down the street. She passed me and made a right turn in front of me, and I T-boned her. Broke the only bone in my body I've ever broken. And we settled out of court shortly before. That was a terrible year, a terrible year. We settled out of court shortly before the DC pen show, and I got a really big check. Well, it was not big enough. I should not have settled, but that's another story. But I had a big check, so I went to DC. I flew there, stayed with a friend, and went to the show, and there was a Waterman 412 fine silver overlay. Yeah, it is dangerous. I mean, and for me, I don't remember the exact number that I took, and I mean, it wasn't, you know, at the time I bought like a $2,000 plasma TV, and all the stupid shit you do when you get a something like that. But I was on at the time I was on a hunt for trying to get a type collection, what I guess what coin collectors are called, a type collection of one of every kind of Waterman overlay, more or less. Your Gothic, your basket weave, your pansy panel, all that stuff. And a gentleman had a 412. I guess technically, I don't know. I guess that's a topic for another day, or maybe now. I don't know. The early fine silver overlays, the 999 pure, oftentimes have the big floral pattern on the cap. They're gorgeous. They're all marked 12, so I don't know. Are they considered technically a 412, or we just call them a 412 because it's got a silver overlay? I think people understand what you mean when you say a 412 with a fine silver overlay. I think that's kind of given. But the barrels were never marked 412, so but anyway, there was one available, and it had a little piece. Yeah, it's a 12. Yeah, that's what I thought. There's a little piece of the overlay missing, and it's a small piece. I mean, it's nothing significant in the pattern per se, because there was a big flower on the cap. Maybe 6, 7, 8 millimeters, 10 centimeter maybe piece of the overlay missing, and of course you can't fix that. But as they say, the price was right. Nothing else wrong with the pen. That was a case where I was willing to accept that level of damage per se. But the Schaefer Night and Day is one of those few pens where I kind of like, maybe, and it wasn't a question at the time. It wasn't a question of, well, can I afford it? Because I just bought something else. I just was like, well, I didn't know enough to know that I'm probably not going to see that pen for a long time in any condition, especially one that's affordable. I would rather have a space filler than nothing at all. So, musings on pens lost. That's kind of, there's that one, and for whatever reason, I once went to a antique store, actually, it's here in town, and unfortunately they closed the antique mall. You're split screening me and Penaheddock right now. Oh, okay. Is he? Oh, that's right. I saw him doing. He did something late. Is he doing a shipping stream or something? I went to the local antique mall, and they had a copper Esterbrook icicle. If you know enough. Oh, DC recap and all. Okay. If you know enough, the copper icicle is not the first one you find. It's blue, it's gray, surprisingly green, which is the best color in my opinion because it's so much different. But not copper, and I passed on it for like $20 at the local antique mall, and it's chapped my what ever since. So that's kind of on the list, but that's okay. I eventually got one of those. It's not a big deal, but Yeah, that Schaefer was something. You passed on a Waterman 58 in Cardinal for $800 due to a cut down cap lip. I would have loved to own one, but yeah, and it's a tough question, right? Where do you draw the line? What amount of damage is acceptable? I mean, it's a Cardinal 58, but yeah, I mean, you're never going to find the cap. You absolutely won't find the cap for that. At 600, you could have accepted. Yeah. 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 It's like that Black Giant I had a couple years ago at the Chicago Pen Show. I had two. Um, the short one sold for what I think was a fair, reasonably wholesale-ish amount. A little bit weren't wholesale, but the large one was, I mean, yeah, the large one had that issue with the barrel. And if memory serves, I can't remember if there was a problem with the nib or not. Um, it's another pen. I mean, it's not particularly rare. Yeah, okay, so that was the large. Yeah, the large had no tipping and it had this big, I mean, huge chunk out of the end of the barrel. But just goes to show how thick that hard rubber was because it didn't break through. Um, they just weren't, like I say, they're not uncommon, but how many of them do you see at a pen show? Not very many ever. Um, you know, is that an acceptable? I mean, if you try hard enough, I think there's probably somebody there's not many people to do retipping. It's a very short list. It's one hand with many fingers left. Um, is it impossible? No. Somebody at some point is going to pick that up. There will be another retipper at some point. I'm certain of it. In my lifetime, I don't know. So those kinds of things I'm not terribly concerned about, especially if it's the original nib. But because you can fix that, you can't fix the barrel. And everybody looked at it and go, oh, that's cool. Two Black Giants. Oh, that's not cool. Do I want to accept that amount of damage? So, yeah, I'm trying to think what else. Other pens I've passed on. The Schaefer piston filler from my buddy Francis. I'm sorry, Esterbrook piston filler. Not a twist filler, an Esterbrook piston filler prototype. A couple years ago. Fuzzy, how you doing? It was the right price. I mean, there's only one. I forget what it was, $400 or $500, and it was $400 or $500. It was about $399 more than I think I had at the time. You did pass on the Schaefer Blue flat top. Yeah, that's too bad. When it's like the time I was offered Frank Tedesco's collection, Esterbrook collection, and I had a meeting. I was at the Raleigh Pen Show, and there was a special room, and I go into the room. I mean, it was like, this is a cool deal, right? And it's a case full of prototypes, and I'm looking through, and there's about 50. I think there was about 50 to 100 prototypes. But some of the prototypes are like prototypes are. I guess depends on what you want to call them, because some of them were special pens. They were factory marked. Like they were trying different things with the number of breather holes in the cap. So they would make a black J, and it said something like 2 breather holes. You know, I mean, what's that worth? Yeah, the breather hole's in a different place. I mean, it's not. I know, right? Right. Um, or they did something different. I mean, they did. Some of it was just it was that stuff. It would say like project 116-1. Well, I don't know what that is. It looks like a black SJ. I mean, what kind of value do you put on that? It's not afternoon Indy. It's not it's not a demonstrator. It's not a different cap band configuration. It's not a different filling system. It's not a different color. It comes after exactly. It comes after Project 115. I mean, like, it in a group of like 50 to 100, when you've got like 20 of those, I personally don't think they don't have much more than $20 to $25 above what the standard price of the pen is. And if I'm wrong, that means I don't, I don't ever get them, and that's fine. But I just, I mean, if the standard Esterbrook J is going for $65 these days, yeah, 75 to 100 max. You're glad you just get pens to use, yeah. And so we're looking through this collection, and I'm thinking, the first thing I thought of was, there is no way I can afford this. No way. There's not a chance. There's not a chance ever that I can afford this. But I said to myself, Five has used a strange concept. Yeah. We're on the collector's portion of the stream today. The first thing I thought is these pens need to be photographed so that we can have, before they get either sold as one group or split off into the wins, to multiple collectors, we need to document these. And I think that's important. And, I've always had I've had a professional photographer on staff for like the last 10 years, pretty most of the last 10 years, like a pro, someone who can take really good pictures. You've got one to collect, maybe two. And so my suggestion is let me take them, let me photograph them. Let's document these so that in the future we can, we can have a whole set. We know what was part of this collection and in this, and the response I got was, well, I can photograph these. I got an iPhone. There was no trying to explain how wrong that was. That and the next week going home trying to figure out how I'm going to come up with the money to buy the collection that I was going to do nothing with other than photograph and put in the pen case. Lisa talked some sense into me, and a couple friends kind of talked me off the ledge. And I finally, and it was kind of a turning point, because up until that point, I would buy, if a prototype or a special project pen came up, I bought it. I bought every one of them, every single one. And when there's 100, 200 of them, you can't do it. You just can't. How much time and effort will you spend selling the difference may not be worth it. Oh God, even in today's world of fancy phones, still not good. Yeah. And that was just it. I was like, no, phone is not going to do it justice. It's not going to do it justice. I mean, and it was serious money. And I sat there and I kind of thought, well, what is the value of this? What is somebody going to pay for this? And it was, I just wasn't seeing I wasn't seeing the numbers work out. And there were a handful, five pens that I could see being over $250. Prototype colors. It's amazing how many published photos these days are taken with phones and all media. Yeah, I mean, I get it. But I guarantee my photographer would have taken better pictures. I guarantee it. I at the time, and this was a number of years ago, right? The iPhones have really come around. I mean, really, they have. But for that kind of photography, I white background, the setup. I mean, I'm not talking just to snap a picture on your desk kind of thing. That wasn't my intention. My intention was, let's photograph these, let's put them on a website somewhere, whether it be mine or, yeah, you need a light tent, you need, something. You need proper lighting, not just, I'm going to take a picture of it on the hotel coffee table. So it didn't work out. And it was like $20,000. I mean, I've done some goofy things before, but that I think somebody could have and should have sent me into the loony bin had I spent that kind of money. Well, what'd you buy then? Esterbrook's. I did buy one pen. I bought one. Actually, was it a pen or a pencil? I can't remember. It was very, and I just couldn't believe it. He's like, well, if you want to buy something, you can buy. You want to buy one. And so I picked one item that I picked because, like, not all of it was for sale, which was weird. But I could pick this, but not that. And so I ended up with there's a scarce series of Esterbrook's with aluminum caps. Military clips. It goes over the back and comes on the front. Basically same clip as what you see on the SM Deluxes. That same font choice, the same style clip, but just wrapped around the top of the cap. It's aluminum, so it's got ribbing on the bottom for cap bands, and then it's got a little aluminum disc at the end of the barrel. And they had a pencil in ivory color. You will find the pens, you'll find the pencils, they'll always be black. Always. They'll always be black. I guarantee it. And so the ivory one was interesting and about the only thing I could afford at that table that particular day. All right. That's probably enough yammering on about pens that I've lost that I couldn't buy. Funny enough, they're almost all Esterbrook. The Waterman I sold George Ramakis once, and he really wanted it, really something fierce. And throughout the course of the day, the price kept going up. Well, I'll trade you some parts. Do you want some parts for it? You want some parts and cash? And then you don't have enough time to talk about the ones you missed. And then, so I'll finish this one. I've told this one to some people before. It might have even been on the stream. And it was an early Waterman, what was considered to be a desk pen. Now it was kind of standardish size, but it had a slight taper to the barrel. And I want to say it didn't have a cap. It didn't have a nib. It was like a barrel and a feed. And so he had bins of Aiken Lambert parts, of which there were about 4 with original price bands on it. Now, they didn't have nibs. Some of them didn't have caps. I mean, they were parts, but they were perfect otherwise. I think one maybe had everything but a nib. I don't remember. Not a huge deal. And we were sitting at the auction in, where was it? Ohio, maybe. And literally 30 seconds before they were ready to start the auction, He says, okay, final offer. All those parts and like 500 in cash or something. It was completely ridiculous. It was like, you've got to be kidding me. And I'm sitting there thinking, that's like, that's, Lisa would shoot me if I did not accept that deal, because that's like a mortgage payment. And so whether or not he remembers or not, but I said, okay, because I was going to keep it. It was the earliest Waterman I had in the collection at the time. And I said, well, if you ever decide to sell it, I would like right of first refusal. He said, deal. He gave me $500. I had the parts. I think it was 500. It might have been more. I don't remember. It was something else, though. I mean, literally, there was like a barrel, a section, and a feed. I think is what it was. All right. Let's see. What do we got going on? What's cooking? Who's in the? Well, we got some people. I will. I do want to make one announcement. Because I know there's a couple people in the chat today watching that have expressed interest in helping me out on the new website. Of course, I appreciate that. I'm hoping tomorrow you'll be getting an email from me with kind of some instructions on what I'm looking for. Fingers crossed tomorrow. I got one little final piece of the puzzle I really want to have set up before I let you go hog wild. Anybody interested in TWSBI? And that includes the serpentine bronze, which I know some have inquired about. I don't know if I'm supposed to mention this or not, but I'm just going to. Better to ask for forgiveness and permission, I guess. There is a price increase coming from TWSBI. I believe it's on Friday, on the 8th. Tariff increases have been too much for TWSBI to swallow. They've already consumed some of them without having to raise the price, but it's gotten out of hand. So there is a small, there's a price increase. I won't say small because it's in some cases it's $2 to $5 increase. So if any of you were interested in buying a TWSBI, now is going to be the time. So when you get the link, if that's something you were thinking about, those prices are going to go up on Friday. They're not too bad. They're still I think pretty. When you start getting into the fancier trims on the 580s and the 700s, like the Iris or the bronze trim or the rose gold trim, they're going to be a little bit more expensive. But I think Ecos are maybe going up $4 on a standard Eco. But I'm going to leave the prices until Friday, and then I have to up them. But so anyway, just a note. You have two TWSBIs, that's enough. Okay. I just know there were some people that wanted inquired about that serpentine bronze, and so if you're interested in TWSBI, get it before the price goes up. The nice thing about the deal is if there's a silver lining in all of this, is that it used to be that on certain pens, that the 1.1 stub was $5 more. But it wasn't all the pens. It was like, the 580 clear, but not the, I can't think of an example, but not Ecos, and certain 700s were $5 more, but not some. Like it didn't make sense. It was hard to remember which one was an extra $5. Now every nib, including individual nib units, every nib is the same price. So it does kind of even that out a little bit. And in some cases, I think there was I forget which example it was, but there is like one pen where the stub nib, or one or two pens where the stub nibs used to be more, is now actually going to be like $1 less. Just don't up the price on vintage. No, we're good. The vintage prices are going to be, they are what they are. You got 12 Twisbees and 3 you've never inked. So you have a collection of uninked, is what you have. So anyway, fingers crossed. Gold price surcharge for vintage. Well, you know, I have had to take the price of gold into account for certain pens because I don't want people to buy inexpensive gold nib pens and scrap the nibs. You know, Parker 45s. That's a great pen. I mean, I'll talk all day about it. But, you know, they're not selling for enough to, I mean, you know, and the nib is relatively small. There's not a lot of gold there, but there's gold there. So we don't need to be giving those away. Triumph nib Schaefer's. Yeah. I know you want a stub serpentine. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I'm not raising prices. I'm taking a little bit of that into consideration, particularly on lesser expensive pens with gold nibs. You know, like I don't have many, and I can't really think of any off the top of my head. But if I had it like a third tier pen with a warranted gold nib, I mean, you know, normally those pens are not very expensive. But if it's got like a warranted number 8, and you know, not all 8s are alike, but usually an 8, even in its smallest warranted size, is a substantial amount of gold. So, you know, you would have to charge a reasonable amount. Yeah, you're wondering about that too, thinking people about scrapping gold. Yeah, I mean, I sold a couple years ago. I mean, I hated to do it, but I had to. I had a solid gold Command Performance Wall Eversharp Skyline set. I think it was a set. It might have just been the pen. I don't recall. But unfortunately, it had a ton of dings in it. And I just couldn't sell it. Nobody wants it. And I ended up selling it to someone who I knew was going to scrap it for gold content. You still don't have a gold nib pen. You'll get one eventually. Just says, yeah. So, yeah, that was a couple years ago before the price went completely nuts. So that's that. All right, let's see. I'm like not feeling the repair thing lately. And I think it's primarily because I'm so far ahead of where I need to be. I actually don't even have space to put repaired pens, and I'm running out of slaughter box. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. So what I'm hoping is that I will sell a bunch so that I can reconnoiter my my storage cases, and then I got someplace to put them. You go take photos of what you got in DC. You can get distracted from repairs. Yeah, it's time to start selling. It is. It is absolutely time to start selling. You are 110% right, Jason. You're not even sure you like a gold nib pen? Well, you know, so here's the thing, right? Considering whether it's vintage or modern, let's pick a random number. And you know, and Hans has got experience in this, so he can throw his 10 cents worth in. Let's just say 80 to 85% of all gold nibs, vintage or modern, are firm. They're not flexible. And, you know, most likely what you're going to encounter. And so if we go, and maybe even higher than that, and if we go with that, what you're writing on is not the gold. Yeah, it's probably a higher percentage, 85 to 90. Yeah, yeah. Um, is you're writing on the tipping. You're not writing on the gold. And the tipping, more or less, and I say that because, you know, iridium is not really, you hear the term iridium thrown about like it's, we don't have iridium in tipping anymore, and we didn't for a long time. You're writing with the tipping is the same on a gold nib as it is on a steel nib. Gets welded to the nib, it gets slit, it gets polished. So that's what you're writing. In certain pens, I think it helps justify the sale of the pen. I know if I'm going to pay more than a couple $100 for a modern pen, it better have a gold nib. Why? I don't want a $200, $300, $400 steel nib pen. It's not that it's an investment, although the way the gold has gone up, I guess perhaps it is. You think the gold steel issue is less of an issue than the feel when writing. Yeah. Yeah, if the Namiki Emperor came with a steel nib, it would be a tough pill to swallow. Can you imagine that? Can we call it like the Emperor Light? Maybe? Yeah, yeah. You can't spend money on a pen with a $15 Yovo nib. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I could see the interest in a number 50 steel nib. But it would have to be, they don't exist. Yeah. I mean, it would have to be priced right. And by right, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the right price is for that. But yeah, it's like the new Schaefer Legacy. I don't know if y'all have seen this. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. And it's 265 with the steel medium nib. It's kind of right at the border of, I mean, it's, and for that, now that's a special nib. Now that's just not just a Yovo stick. So at 265, I think that's about like the max of what anybody should or would want to pay for a steel nib pen, but you do get extra value. Sailor's coming out with the steel nib with the intent of adding them to Pro Gears and King of Pen. They're gonna put a steel nib on a King of Pen. Who's gonna buy that? Who's gonna buy it? Who's gonna buy a steel nib King of Pen? What is it gonna be like? Is it still gonna be fine in medium only? And I'm on it. I haven't gotten since I stopped being a dealer supposedly. They haven't put me on the mailing list, even though I am now officially. I am sort of a. I'm not officially a dealer yet. I'm an Atoya dealer, not a Sailor dealer yet, until I make my first purchase. But you probably have the largest steel nib in a working pen. It's cool, but it would be even more special in gold. Yeah. Sailor's new steel nib was a decent writer. You were pleasantly surprised. Is that on the 1911 Pro Gears? We're not talking about the one that's on the Tuzu, right? Because that actually was a decent nib. The Tuzu nib was a really I got a Tuzu sitting over here. Where's my Tuzu? Pro Gear, you tried it in DC. Okay. You can you can justify the Ignis, the Rook of yeah. So I guess a long way about it, Indy, is if you like what you like, and if you like what you have, and you don't have a gold nib, don't feel left out because no, there are certain pens that you're only ever going to be able to get with a gold nib. And we at one point would have said you can only buy a vanishing point with a gold nib, and you can only buy a king of pen with a gold nib. But a king of pen with a steel nib is nuts to me. It's bonkers. Especially if they're going to stick with the story that the king of pen is not popular in Japan. So, and we all know that some of the Japanese companies don't really care, regardless of what the sales are. They don't really care what people are interested in outside of Japan. So why would they put a steel nib on? I mean, see you next time, Fuzzy. Interesting. Where Hans, where did you try it? Was there a Sailor table? Was it Toya there? Oh, you fully marked Schaefer lifetime nib made of steel. Yeah, it is a collector's piece. Oh, was that a Toya? It must be really really new because they didn't mention it to us in St. Louis. But I'm waiting for them to get in touch with me. Not released yet. Yeah. I'm having a devil of a time trying to get in touch with a Toya, and I don't know if it's the person I'm trying to get in touch with is on vacation, which is entirely a possibility, or if they're not getting my emails, which is entirely a possibility because that has sort of happened a little bit. I don't know why, but I will ask. You got your hands on an old cardboard Spartan point of sale pen display with 12 pens. In there is a Prussian blue touchdown Admiral. The sack looks new, but the nib is missing. Are there any modern nibs that might fit? Ooh. They're gonna have to be smaller size. I mean, you're looking at probably number 5 size in something. I don't know anybody that's done a swap like that. If I were going to experiment, I would start with, yeah, it matters whether it's a thin or the fat. Yeah, it's probably, I'm guessing an open nib based on the conversation, but yeah, we need a little bit more information. If it's the thin model with the open nib, the first place I would start would be a Yovo number 5, and see how that fits or doesn't fit. Um, I probably got one around here somewhere. I probably have a touchdown without a nib somewhere. Open nib, yeah, okay. So I'm guessing it's the thin. Yeah, it'd be true. I was thinking that maybe you might have to trim that tail end. And I don't really know much enough about the Bach and Schmidt sizing, although some of them are about a half size. Am I correct in that? Is it the Schmidt is a half size smaller? I think so. You might be looking at a Schmidt, but and the question is whether or not I mean, then you have to. It would be an interesting project. I'd put money on it's a thin one. The thick one is chunky. It's chunky. Well, thank y'all for. I probably should get moving on this pen here. Um, so this is the Vacumatic we're working on yesterday, and it's got this really awesome nib. There's not much left of the platinum plating on it. You can see a little bit of it just kind of north of the breather hole there. It's a Fude or yeah, it's a Concord style. Yeah. Um, the owner has approved the straightening operation. It's a rare prototype. I wish it was. I really do. It's chunkier than your Imperial. Okay, so it's so it might be a fat touchdown first year. So I'm gonna put a piece of tape over this as I try. Fat touchdown's gonna be harder to find. Yeah, yeah. If anybody's got one, it'll be Hans. I'm gonna do my best to straighten this out and not tape it to the. But I put this on there so that my tool isn't gonna leave marks, because this is kind of a. So forgive me, I'm gonna need this for a little bit. What makes this even more challenging is it's a flexible nib. I'm going to put a little more tape on there. This trick I learned from John Monteshaw. Just protects the nib. I think John would use a he would use a nib block, and then he had like a piece of plastic. Sheeting that he would use. Pen Addict, rating with the party of 106. Holy wowza. Welcome. Raiders coming in hot. Yo. How you doing, Brad? From Corolla. Nice to see you. Hello, hello. I ought to pick up something more exciting to do than to fix a nib today, apparently. For those that are tuning in, our little room got really big. Holy cow. We're going to have to open up to the next room. Olive, nice to see you. Mrs. G's, Apple Tater. I make better loops. I bet you do. I bet you do. I normally like to use the Belomo, but this kind of gets me right where I need to get for the most part. Dope. Don't you have folding chairs? Yeah, folding chairs in the corner. Standing room only. Here's what we're working on today. So these are some client pens that came in over the weekend. Hello. Lip gloss and lattes. That's a combination. The latte sounds good. Esterbrook transitional. We're gonna test this pen today. It should be ready to reassemble. That section was a little tight, but I think we trimmed it down a little bit. Lexi, all right, let's just go with that. And this guy was a disaster. I'm gonna move these out of the picture because these don't belong. This guy was a disaster. This is a 19. You stumble upon a nib meister. Well, I can work a nib here or there. I don't do it for clients much. Let's just say that. This is a 1939 Parker Vacumatic Slender Maxima double jewel burgundy pearl. How many more ways can we describe this pen? With the string, I'm losing my words here. With the Speedline filler, and this pen was made for export to South America. So the barrel is marked Marca Registrada. And unfortunately, and this is owner's mother's grandparents' pen, I believe. They tried to disassemble the pen themselves. And this is why you don't do this. Unless you have the right tools. So this is what's left of the speedline filler. After a pair of vice grips got involved. Yeah, it's and there were extra parts in here. So yeah, hey Stretch. Yeah, it was and it couldn't. I guess the good and the bad is it's a very pretty scarce pen. I mean, it's got a tremendous amount of value in this being a slender Maxima. So the cost, if this were a standard single jewel major, well, number one, it would be a whole lot easier. Looks like a spring from a big click. Yeah. Maybe we can reuse it for that. I don't know, because it's not usable here, that's for sure. What was I saying? Well, anyway, at least he stopped before they went any further. They tried to get the section off, so there are, I'm assuming they did, because there are marks on the section. There were marks on the section of the Esterbrook which they couldn't get out either. Those we took out yesterday. The value of the pen. Yeah. So it's worth the repair. Now, if this had been a major and we've got nib damage and we need to replace the filling unit, plus we need to do the filling system repair, it's not worth the price of the pen. So, thanks for getting inside my head and reminding me where I was going with that train of thought. So now I've got to find a speedline filler. A pity there wasn't a single one in DC. But I know some people. And we get that. We can straighten out the nib, which is what we're trying to do today. It'll be back to its former glory. And it's got their grandfather's grandfather, great grandfather, their name engraved on it. Actually, it's their signature, which is pretty cool. Even with the little line underneath it, it's pretty neat. So I won't zoom in it too much because I'll leave that for the family. But yeah, this is, if you're not familiar with vintage pen repair and you don't know what you're doing and you don't have tools, don't try to open it up, because when you open it up, you're not, what are you going to do? So, but it's a nice pen. It will be a really nice pen once it gets all back to it. And it has the added bonus of having a flexible Parker nib. So yeah, you never know what kind of weird filling system vintage pens have. And so, it's somewhat amusing to me when somebody does rip something apart and they're like, well, I don't know how to fix it. Well, it is what it is. But we'll get it taken care of. The nib I'll probably just do in batches. But the blind cap looks long. Does a filler button lockdown? No. So this is not a lockdown. This is the speed line, which essentially is the almost exactly the length of a lockdown when it's extended. So this came after the lockdown, which had the short blind cap, which is what you're referring to. You spent $3 on your practice pen. Yeah. This is, I mean, if it costs you, well, see, that's the thing though. But even if it costs you $3, if it's a $700 pen, I mean, you just got lucky. And I know it's not. You know what? Let's I'll continue on with that another day. I do want to get this assembled here, and we'll see what else we got cooking in the mix. But it's a great. I mean, you know, it's in a speed line is really a bomb-proof filling system on the vac. It's my favorite vac filling system because it doesn't, unlike the later plastic ones, it doesn't have a hard rubber pellet cup. It's aluminum, so it can't. I mean, the worst it can do is if you try to drill out the pellet and you miss, you open up that aluminum a little bit, which maybe I guess you can roll in. But usually it's easy to get a pellet out of a speed line or a lockdown. Lockdowns are troublesome because of the mechanism. As it wears, it'll have has this little notch. This is a space. There's your button. And then when you push down, it locks in here. What usually happens is this here rounds off. This little piece here rounds off, and then you can't lock it down. So when you get, if you find a lockdown in the wild, and you unscrew the blind cap, because you should, in that case you should, because usually I tell people if it's a vintage pen, don't even try to operate the lever or the Vacumatic. It doesn't make a hill of beans. A bit of tape will sort it. On this case, not necessarily. But what'll happen is you'll open the blind cap, and then you'll see that will spring out. It won't stay locked down, and then you know you got a problem because you got to replace that because that won't work. But so that's why I don't like those as much, and they're also a little fiddly to deal with. Sometimes they're hard to. Let's take a look at this nib here. They're just hard to deal with. Oh. Nib is bent. This pen suffered some other fate. And the tines were like that. I will say, Hans, I am not sorry I bought these pliers. For this particular exercise alone. They seem to be get one more. Yeah, I mean, for this operation, they're very handy. I don't know if I've got my money's worth out of them yet, but I mean, you fix one pen usually on any tool, and Well, we'll see. I mean, the nib is definitely better. All right, so that section actually went in much nicer. It was just so hard. Pricey tool. These are from. There's actually a set of these. They're from Pen Tooling from Dale Beebe. They come in two sizes. You can kind of see the width. This one's got a little ink on it. They come in two sizes, kind of large and small, and you can use them to get. They're designed to be used when the nib is on the. Yeah, specifically, yeah. They're designed to be used when the nib is on the feed. So if I want to get in here underneath the feed, let's see if I can get a little close up here. They'll just slide in there like that, and I can grab, and I can work the nib that way. I want to say, I don't remember off the top of my head, it's $80 for the pair, maybe $70, $80 for the pair of them. But you save one or two pens, or one or two nibs, and it does pay for itself. Yeah, I mean, and they're well made tools too. They're very they're solid, not cheap, not cheaply made. Um, I'm sure they don't manufacture them in the hundreds. All right, well, let's try this Esterbrook and we can get this out of the way. I'm getting down on that bottle. I think I've got another half a bottle I can mix in there. And what do we got here? 95.50. So this should write like an extra fine. We'll see if the nib needs any tweaking. Yeah, I need a little something. It's close. It's actually pretty good. I mean, it's as far as it being straight. That's much better. This is just an interesting pen. I just don't know. I've seen a few Esterbrooks in my day, but it's a very weird transitional. Now the colors match nicely. I have to wonder if at some point this cap was replaced, because to me that seems like this is a replacement cap. But you just with the trans, those Esterbrooks between 44 and 47. There's about three or four different variations of them, and this is not one of the variations. And why I say that, it's got this. kind of hard to see the imprint, but it's got the early R. Esterbrook and Company imprint on the barrel. I mean, the color matches right on, but that wouldn't have this cap. Round jewel imprint on the clip. It would have likely had no imprint on the clip with the 3-rib jewel. So I don't know where this, I mean, I could maybe say the next one after that was a round jewel with no imprint on the clip. And I could say, okay, maybe I could see that, maybe. I would say this is probably a replacement cap at some point. It's got a little bit of something still. And just in case. I suppose they have to be because they're markings. Yeah. Already read that. Yeah, there's just something a little still not quite right. I mean, it's. Yeah, left time's got a little bit of a sharp. All right. Still a little something though. Yeah, a little scratch isn't bad. Feedback, as it were. Nib also wasn't cut perfectly straight. The left tine is actually wider than the right. Yeah, these days $80 for a set of pliers is actually very reasonably priced. That'll work. I think in this case, that 17 sack we put in there, which I know is not the normal recommended size, but with that earlier barrel, well, actually, now that I'm looking at it, this is completely a mismatch. Uh, that's why the 17 was right. Yeah, so this actually should have a dollar pen if we look at this. I was just assuming it was correct. It is absolutely not correct. Transition would have a ribbed lever. So this was an earlier dollar pen. 2-hole clip cap would be appropriate. And why, when I thought yesterday that the section was tight because it's a dollar pen, not a J series, although the early J series are that way. No tray liner. And the inside of barrel diameter is pretty big. So yeah, somebody did it's definitely a mismatch. Guess we could call it a JB. J cap. Bieber. Sometimes those details escape me when I'm not looking for them. So, original owner lost the cap, broke the cap. Too much time had gone by because this pen would have been made in probably early 1940s, 1940, 41, 42 even at the latest. And the cap is from no earlier than 47. So a few years passed and they liked the pen. Because this nib wouldn't have been in it. Well, it's a full comb feed, so the nib was a replacement too. So it's kind of like George Washington's hammer. Triggers, broom if you're British. All right. Keep scratching my shirt here because I think I got a piece of wire brushing. Hey, this ain't going well. Although it's going okay today. It's going all right today. All right, so we got that cooking. Let's see. So we're going to do that. I'm going to come back to this. This is pretty close. But there's only a few things more boring than watching a guy try to straighten a nib. Because that's going to take a little while. It's an old British sitcom. One of the characters claims to have... Oh, okay. The same broom for 20 years, only changed the head 4 times and the handle 5 times. Yeah, triggers broom. Okay, all right. Cool, you learn something new every day. Yeah, George Washington's hammer. Same thing. As a former beauty store enthusiast, I must say I'm super amused at the bare minerals contained in this guy here. Yeah, so enthusiast employee. All right. So my wife Lisa, partner in crime. She's always on the lookout for me. I keep finding these little pieces of wire from my wire wheel, which is why you always wear glasses if you use those stinking things. She's always on the lookout for good containers. Carol B, thanks for following. Always on the lookout for interesting containers for me. And I like this one a lot because when I do a lot of pen repairs, I need a lot of talc, and I'm really getting down to the bottom here. I need to fill this up. But it's got the sifter in it, and then I can put my talc in there. And it's good stuff. You bet those little containers hold up pretty well. They're made to throw in and make it big and not leak. Yeah, so and I'm not throwing this around. I mean, this is the one that I usually keep this one at my desk, and then I have a travel it's kind of a mess, but I have one of these. These are like these are made by Atoya Profolio. The Midtown pouch is what these are. And then this is what I usually fit if I'm going to do mobile repairs, what I used to take to the store or something, I would keep all my things in here. And there's probably actually in here somewhere a smaller container of talc. Maybe not, but since I don't actually commute anymore, I don't really need that. But yeah, I have probably had this for probably close to 15 years. 15 years, maybe? Does that sound right? They've been around. I'm sure they've been around that long. But yeah, so I mean, I've had this for a long time. It's never. I have no reason to replace it, and I always know what it is because it says bare minerals on it. So yeah, so I mean, I use and Lisa did this one for me too, which is real fun. This is a Graf von Faber-Castell bottle that she converted for use for shellac, and by converted, really all we did was glue in a brush on the inside of the cap. But if you do a lot of repairs, it's great because it's just such a great bottle. It's got a lot to grip. It's not, everybody loves a Roshizuku, but man, getting those caps off is a nightmare, right? It's got a heavy base. You can't really, you can knock it over, but it's really hard to knock it over if you're just, kind of moving it around like that. So yeah, Lisa always looks out for weird things for me. All right. You swapped your Roshizuku ink into an Edelstein bottle because of the terrible. Yeah. A funny story. I got a little heat for this. I just laughed though. You got a Graf bottle this weekend? Cool. You use a lot of roast, you can never have an issue. Well, it's just sometimes, it's hard to grip sometimes. There's not much to grip on. Yeah, Karen Dash has got that nice large kind of a cap too. Yeah. I discovered that once we used to carry Ackerman ink, and I had an issue one year where they were being shipped and that the caps were breaking and leaking, and and nobody wants to buy a bottle of ink that's all, the box is leaked, the label's leaked on. Nobody wants that. And so, but I would occasionally get them where the cap was cracked, but it hadn't leaked yet. And they would Ackerman would send me new caps, just in case. And that's an acceptable solution, because otherwise they're useless to me, And I discovered that the Ackerman caps actually thread onto an Oroshizuku bottle. So at the end of my last life, I sold some of those off for a couple bucks each for a solution for people who have one sitting on their desk that, they cracked a cap or whatever and they can use it. Well, the first thing one of my local customers did is he took it and I don't want to do it with this, but he took it home, he screwed it on, and then he turned it upside down and it leaked out. Well, apparently the edge of the rim bottoms out on the glass before it officially seals. So it's the same thread, but it's not. My solution was, hey, if it's just sitting on your desk and you're not purposely tipping it upside down or sending it in the mail, this might be a solution for you for, $2 or something. But I caught a little heat for that, but it is what it is. Okay, so we're gonna deal with the rest of that later. What should we work on next? I'm convinced those PFM sections are never coming open ever in my lifetime or the next lifetime. Let's see. Did we do these? Green. I guess we didn't do these two. We should finish these up. I tested some of these. These are probably good to go. Yeah, that Karen Dodge inkwell is really nice. Oh, you got photos of the DC show hall. Did they include said pen that I am so excited to see a picture of? Yeah, go ahead. Throw it in there. Let's take a look. I saw some of the pic. Maybe. Now, come on. Come on, bud. Let's see what you got. Hit me. I mean, not that this is. Oh, it's uploading. Oh, okay. All right. Well, while we're waiting for that. So what? We resacked these, didn't we? We must have. Or did we pull these out and... Yeah, we resacked. Website is being challenging. I was having issues yesterday with Google Voice. I haven't been using it very long, but yesterday it was not my favorite person. So if you've never taken one of these apart and you missed when we took them apart. So this is a A101 Esterbrook, the aerometric fill. The sleeve slides off, and then here's the bar. And the bar's got a notch. There's a notch on the section, and there's a notch here. And that just goes on just like that. Thank you for the follow, Inky. We're going to do that. So we're going to throw this on there. So the press verbiage is on this side. Sometimes you'll see these will have a little gap where they've been on the pen. You can kind of see this end is a little bit more open. So that's the end that I'm going to put towards the section, just because it will make life easier. Do I have the ability to enable subs, etc. on the Twitch stream? Okay, well, that's a I won't say it's a hot topic, but it's an interesting topic that I've kind of struggled with. I guess I'm eligible for the affiliate program. I've opted not to do it at this point. I may do it in the future, but I didn't want to. I don't want to deal with the commercials is the thing I didn't want to deal with. Like when I have stuff on YouTube, you really can't get around the commercials. I mean, it's cumbersome to do it. I guess you can do it, but it's even more cumbersome to get around it than it is to just leave it. And people think people are used to it. And I didn't really want to have people deal with commercials, or maybe we schedule a 3-minute break every 3 minutes every hour or something. So I haven't gotten to that point yet. Like I say, it might happen at some point in the future, but I'm also not 100% certain. I guess, but they go when people subscribe or sign up for Nitro. So if they subscribe for something else, they don't get the commercials. My concern was, yeah, I mean, you also opted out doing affiliate. But my other concern was, starting April 15th is going to be launch date for the new company. Fingers crossed. Please knock on wood. Knock on wood. That's real wood right there. And my hope and intention is that after the 15th, I will be busy. Because this time around, it's Lisa and I, and it's like 98% me. So I'm the one that has to do all the shipping, all the receiving. Did I say April again? I might have, because I think I said that like a couple weeks ago. It's August 15th, like next Friday. Next Friday. I'm doing all the shipping, all the receiving, all the emails, all, and everything else I used to do. Website maintenance. No, I may have said April 15th. But it's next Friday. It's just to make me even more nervous and anxious. It's next Friday. What is the new company? We are going to announce that. I guess technically we're not going to announce it on the 12th. So if y'all haven't, if y'all were getting emails from me previously, you'll get an email on the 12th. If you're not sure, send me an email at this email address, brian@esterbrook.net. I'll make sure you get the first email. The first email, which will go out on the 12th, will basically tell you when. What we're going to do is on Friday, next Friday, we're going to do a YouTube Live. We'll do podcast number 1, because I can't start over at I can't start with 585 or whatever it was, right? Podcast number 1. I'll give you all the details on the 12th, what time the podcast live is going to be, and during the live, we'll make the site live, and we'll go from there. Season 2. There we go. I like that. Season 2. That's interesting. Well, we have to do a lot of things differently, because I don't want to get too involved into it, but yeah, season 2. I like that. That's good. I like that. Season 2. I can't call it Anderson anything, so, which is unfortunate. Anyway, I'll see if I can get this on here. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. Now it's been a long haul to try to get to this point. I'm going to set this off to this slit off to the side, because otherwise it's going to get hung up on this little. It's already going on easy. I spend my mornings doing testing and work on the website and this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, it's time to start selling stuff already. All right, what do we got, Hans? All right, Hans has got some stuff. Let me see. Ended up in the wrong window. Oh my goodness. This one? Is it this one? These are Hans's finds. Let's see if I got this right. I did. Okay, these are the finds from... Okay, so random DC show stuff, he says. And this is this the nameplate engraver for the desk sets? Is that what this one is? Oh, this is a pantograph engraving. Yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, that is something else. What is the... So it really must reduce... What's the percentage it reduces that size? Because, I mean, that's a big W, right? Looks like part of the Mars rover. Yeah, it looks like it was on Mars. Oh, with the scale. So you can reduce it based on where the setting is on this one handle here. If I can zoom in. There we go. That's even better. Y'all see that? Okay. So probably, what is that, like 4 times there or something? Is that probably what that means? A scale of 4. Permanently affixed hex key. You have no clue if you were ever using it. Look at, there's even, there's an italic W in there. A U. It can get really tiny. Boy, that's pretty cool because that makes it so much easier. And so this over here is the arm that swings down and rests on your letters here. Because there's a little tracer. Yeah. You could 3D print a template for it. For the letters, you mean? That's pretty cool. Pen goes. Where's the pen? Pen goes in there. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool. It's the new Hermes engravograph. Imagine how many of these they made if this is the 92,249 serial number. I bet this box is heavy, isn't it? There's one on the side here. All right. Let's see. Ooh, this is big. Okay, what do we got here? We got the Kingsley Machine Company in Hollywood, California. Heat stamping machine for plastic pen. I'm going to back it out. I'm guessing you drove. Yeah. Yeah, you sure would have to. Okay, so now that I'm looking in, trying to get it to a reasonable size here that I can see it. There's your heat oscillator there. Here's your handle. You put the letters in a tray and then stamps it onto the barrel. It has a bunch of letters. So what is this roll here? Is that... Oh, that's the gold foil. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I can see that. Not really a happy medium on the picture there. Yeah, that's pretty cool. All right. Now we're going to move on to some smaller things. Came with a ton of letters. Okay, cool. I'm going to get, these are original vac wrenches. This is a knockout block of sorts with, we've got some feed slots in here or something. And as an odd aside, a pilot, yeah, cartridge cap. The early version of the cartridge cap, right? Even better than the Dragonfly stickers would be engraved Dragonfly on all your pens. Yes, you can engrave it on all your pens. This almost looks like, is this like something to do with different feeds? I mean, this is almost shaped like a 45. Feed and section there. That must be heavy. That must be really heavy. Yeah, it had to have been for working on different pens. What would this have been for? Yeah, I bet it, man. Yeah, it's a good thing you weren't flying. I mean, even if you just had this in your luggage. Want to look at a little closer at these 3674. Okay. All right. I guess I don't need to really zoom in on this, but we know what this is here. Original tipping, that's cool. You have like the world's supply of Schaefer tipping material. Look at different sizes here. So, Indy, you were talking about tipping earlier. Here you go. Yeah, thousands. This is what you're writing on. Yeah, and this is the real deal. But even this is probably what? What would you say? This is 40s? Is that when this? Well, these two early ones are here. Um, but even these old ones, iridium is no part of this. Retipping? Do you ever have to retip pens? There's not a lot of people that do it. It requires very, very expensive tools. And not many people want to get into that. Crimson Glow, rhodium, osmium, or other platinum. Yeah. Iridium was, as I recall, iridium was basically out even by the 20s. They just kept using the name. Crimson Glow, is that what this one is? The beautiful color. These balance twos, you bought it because it was cheap. Yeah, these balance twos are are just really nice. Really, really very nice. The only real flaw they had was that sometimes they crack, which is admittedly a very huge flaw. Oh, a lady spores. You bought a spores? One of your favorite pens, period. Yeah, yeah. I didn't see it. Is this just the box? Or is there another one? So XA1 lady spores. No, I have not. I have not. Yes, you're right. Um, they're great, but sometimes they explode a little. Yeah. Unbreakable. Yeah. Now, is this one? I'm going to go back to the other picture here. Self-filling unbreakable. Is this plastic or is this hard rubber? Because if it's hard rubber, then you got me. Because that clip is unusual. It is plastic. Okay. The clip is still unusual for that for spores. So I imagine it's shorter than the standard spores since it's a lady spores. Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, it had to have been the right price, and that $20 is the right price with the box. Ooh, early Schaefer. Look at that. I love this pattern. What is this pattern called? Um, yeah, very small. Yeah. Yeah, what is this? What do they call this? They're not railroad track, but somebody's initials on it. That's a cool pattern. They did it on full size. Yeah, yeah, with a boring name. Yeah, I think I think collectors have given it something a little bit more interesting. Racetrack, yeah, racetrack. Yeah, yeah, neat. That's cool. I think I had one of those at some point. We got a wasp, and these are the two Schaefers I think you told me with flexible nibs. This one here looks like a telephone dialer. That's what that is? That middle one. That's a cool plastic. Vacuum fill. Okay, yeah. This is a telephone dialer, right? The middle one with this extreme taper on the barrel, or is that just an early long pen? Okay, nice, decent color too. I mean, a little ambering, but that's all right. I don't mind it really. This is outrageous though. This material. Look at that. All right, what I've been waiting for. Oh, this is a Waterman's. Waterman. Look at that snake clip. The vacuum is perfect with the two-tone nib. Awesome. This is cool. Cool imprint on the cap. That's neat. A little bit of French stuff going on this cap right for this pen. Okay, yeah. You wanted the clip for one of your pens. Yeah, I was gonna say because this looks like it's a French. The Marquis number 3 Deposé, you know. Yeah, and plus it's got that kind of that French swirling to it. Here it is. Here it is. Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. Let's zoom in on this guy. Look at that imprint. Early self-filling imprint. Please return to Brian Anderson. I think that's what that's what that bottom line says. That's nice. That marbling is beautiful. Big chunks of black, which I like. Very striking. Oh, here's our input. Yeah. Return to Brian Anderson. It says right there. 34, short and fat with the number 2 nib. Wow. Patents pending. Yeah, look at that R. That is great. I've waited all week. Well, not all week, but it's got the little hand. Look at that. I love that. I love caps that have that. Turn this way, dummy. Strongest sturdy carrying it. Yeah, strongest sturdy bag. Yeah, it's good. It's good so far. Yeah. Lisa asked me about it yesterday. She's like, "How's your bag?" Yeah, it's good. It's good. That's great. This is like a pen I would buy. No nib. Look at those threads. Raised threads. Early feed. Now, does this take a standard number? Well, if it's 34, I mean, is it a standard number? Is it a number 4 then? Or number 2? Short and fat with number 2 nib. Number 2 self-filling nib? Or did you take the nib out to take this picture? Oh. Yeah. Number 2 nib. Oh, okay. Yeah. Number 2. Okay. Weird 2 nib with high shoulders. That's cool. That's cool. No nib. That's probably why it survived. Yeah. And sometimes, sometimes we get lucky. You know, you get a rare pen and somebody damaged the nib or the nib is gone and they couldn't ruin it anymore. Yeah, somebody probably sold the gold nib for scrap for a long time. Giant Victorian 3-color pencil. Yeah, this is cool. It's got these little things on the kind of jewels on the sliders. There's a lapis one. I don't know if it's actually lapis. Yeah, there's the blue edge. And it's an M800 for scale. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's big. Nice chasing pattern. A little bit different. It's got like kind of a center pattern that's a little bit different. Nib shot. Oh, big. And this has got, what was the size lead on this? It was huge, right? It was like the Victorian 2.5 or something. Oh, 5mm, yeah. Doesn't, Jonathan Velli have, does Jonathan have lead that size? Legendary Lead Company? He does, okay. Because, you know, you're going to use that every day. Cool stuff. It was worth the wait for the Schaefer pictures. You couldn't see the pen in hotel shots. I was only slightly giving you grief for not sending the pictures because that's a seriously cool pen. I'm happy you found it. What's your opinion of the new Schaefer, or are modern pens too dull? No, modern pens are not dull at all. We talk about them quite regularly, actually. In fact, I was just mentioning the new Schaefer Legacy earlier today, and we talked about it a little bit. A couple weeks ago when Schaefer first made the announcement. Yeah, that's your big show purchase. Yeah, yeah. Every show needs one big purchase, and you know that's definitely it. You know, it depends on what you know, what new Schaefer are you talking about, or just new Schaefer in general. You know, the Legacy, or you know, the we were talking about the new expressions that just came out. What I need is a mandrel. Oh, this might work. You're not sure of the names, to be honest. I think the new Legacy is interesting. I think there's with the inlaid nib, essentially the PFM or the the old Legacy. Uh, I think maybe the marketing hype is a little bit much. Yeah, Legacy's one thing inlaid nib. I think the marketing hype is maybe a little bit much for a black pen with a steel nib, but there we go. But I think the price is right. It's like 260. I think it's 265. Now I'm not bothered by so much bothered by the medium nib only option. Yes, at least the inlay nib is more interesting. It is different. It is not the same thing you find anywhere else. Yeah, they are unique. Oh, we can work on this button. I think they do Jinhao of a copy next week, and I don't know. Maybe not. I I think that William Penn, the new owners of Schaefer, I think they're trying, and I think they're heading in the right direction. You got a Karen recently. Yeah, inlaid. It's enjoyed a yeah. The Karen is a nice pen. It's a really nice pen. I like them a lot. Um, Inlaid nib's not easy to copy. Yeah. Um, this cap's got a huge dent in it, so unfortunately we got to try to get this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna soak this cap. Maybe we'll get lucky and that will help. If not, we're gonna have to go the heat route, or I'm just gonna have to find a new cap for it. But we can try to soak it for now. Turn that on. But we started this pen a long time ago. And what we had was this scratched up, terribly scratched up hood. Which somebody, again, tried to use pliers to get off. The problem is it was the version with the O-ring on it. And I acquired a shell that has a decent color match, but it was the non-O-ring version. So I did confer that if you just take the O-ring off, it does fit, it does work. It's not a huge deal. So that's what we're gonna do. Because this has got kind of a nice medium-ish nib on it. And this was all cleaned out and ready to go. So we can reassemble this. We're gonna leave that sack in there. But I think William Penn's, they're trying. They may not get everything right. Clean that. they're moving at a snail's pace, you know, but I think part of that is, you know, when Cross had them, we didn't really have, they didn't do much. And all they did was, you know, kind of, they gave us the Cross color palette. Which is, you know, black with silver, black with gold, brushed stainless with gold. You know, and so they didn't really do much. And it took William Penn forever to get up to speed on bringing things back. Still not where I want them to be, but at least we've got, you know, colored inks. I don't know that coffee scented ink is the product we were all looking for. Well, I guess we've got it now. And they do tell me that there are gold nibs, fine nibs, you know, and other nib options coming. I guess I kind of would have liked to have seen a product launch with a more robust selection of nibs than steel medium, and then the advertising copy that was whatever advertising copy they came up with, I thought was a little bit over the top. Something about, you know, I forget what it was, what they said, but it was not as mind blowing as they tried to make it out to be. I mean, it was a steel. I mean, it wasn't any new material, which would have been, you know, the first thing to look at. It wasn't any new design, which we don't really want. So it was not. But, you know, marketers going to be marketers. All right. That'll work. I just love this cocoa color. It's just so nice. I had to remember why we had this green one. That's because we were filling in those holes. All right, so yeah, I mean, you know, modern pen talk is always welcome. Certain modern things I don't really, I'm not going to call myself an expert at, so. But that's why you have Brad and Mike Madison and those guys. All right. We got, I ordered platinum converters for these cartridge guys today. So when these go up for sale, they'll be equipped with a cartridge. It's just it's a fun retro kind of retro thing. So this is certainly cured long enough. I don't remember how long it's been since we did this, but I think we did a little bit on the cap too. Just for funsies. So there were some big scratches and gouges, and we just filled them in. And so we'll sand it down, and we'll see if we need to keep going. At least our pen company still always surprises me to think how many brands are owned by much bigger companies like Newell Brands. Yeah. Yeah, different ownership. Yeah. Well, it's even like Mont Blanc being owned by why does the name escape me? That's not the one I want. Mont Blanc's parent company owns like so many. Richemont, yeah, Richemont, yeah. Thank you. I mean, you look at who Richemont owns. Like, holy moly. It's a ridiculous array of. You've not heard of them, yeah. It becomes clearly apparent that they're such a big company that's why there are so many inefficiencies. Yeah, and the Watch World, yeah, between them and Swatch, yeah. Yeah, what is it? IWC, they own, I mean, just, yeah. Yeah, they're fashion and watch brands. But I mean, some of their watch brands are, see, now I gotta go and I gotta look them up, so. Oh yeah, Cartier, Van Cleef and Arpels. Yeah, IWC is definitely not a fashion brand. Baume & Mercier, Panerai, Piaget. Okay, maybe they're pushing the Lecoutre. Yeah, I thought Lecoutre was in there. I mean, Vacheron Constantin. Well, Elanson. Yeah, yeah. It's Dunhill. Watchfinder and Company, pre-owned watch specialist. I mean, those are some serious watch brands. I'd be willing to bet it's a pain in the butt to get product like it was to get from Mont Blanc. And I don't want anybody to think I'm just knocking Mont Blanc for the sake of knocking Mont Blanc. I was a dealer for a number of years. Pretty shotguns. Perhaps it shouldn't, but it puts me off. The fact Roaching, Parker, Waterman, Papermate, Sharpie, etc., all the same company takes something away, and they are all the same company as Crockpot. Yeah, yeah. Newell Rubbermaid, I think, garbage cans, things like that. Well, and with Parker Waterman too. What I was told once, and I don't know how true it actually is, but was that they focus on one brand a year. And one year it's Parker, the next year it's Waterman. Which would explain why there are so few new releases of any kind. You get a new jotter. You might get one new pattern in Waterman, that new cap pattern that goes from, Karen to Hemisphere. Maybe some new Hemisphere colors. But, like, you get one Karen every other year or something, But Mont Blanc was just incompetent. That's the best word to describe it. They're just incompetent. Their reps were incompetent. Why have reps if I can't get product? And if I order stuff, I don't want to have another Brian rant session, but I've had them before. They would have 146 Legrands with a fine nib on back order for months and months and months and months and months. I feel like Mont Blanc can do what they like. The name is enough to keep selling to people who want that status symbol regardless. Yeah, and that's the problem with it, I think. They're not a writing instrument company anymore. They're a fashion company, a status symbol. Quite frankly, I think many of their limited edition or their great character special editions, they're gaudy. I mean, none of them post ever. Like the JFK, it was always like we would get the pens in. We'd be like, is this one going to post this year? No, JFK came in. JFK could have post. They could have made the pen post, and they didn't. And no support. They actually had a rule. I'll tell this story because I told it before, but there might be some people who haven't heard this. They actually had a rule that if you ordered lifestyle brand, yeah, Drew Brown's at parties, gets dozens of DC government employees coming in from Mont Blanc because it's just expected to have one. Yeah. They actually had in their system set up, if you ordered, we talked to our rep once, we said, listen, we have a problem getting ink. We sell more Mont Blanc ink than you can imagine. Why is it that I can't get it? And they said, well, what are you talking about? I said, well, I order ink by the dozens. They had something in their system. If you ordered more than 4 dozen of any color of ink, I think it was 4. I think that was the number. Or 50 was the number, something like that. They automatically red flag it and they don't ship the order. You can't buy 50 bottles of ink. And I'm like, you don't understand. I sell it every day, multiple bottles every day. And with how slow it takes Mont Blanc to ship stuff and how often they screw stuff up, I need 50 bottles. You know, I need Irish Green, I need 50 bottles. I'll sell it. And then I'll order 50 more. And so he's like, well, you got to break it up. You got to break it up in 2 dozen increments. You go for a brand experience rather than writing quality. I could get matching luggage and a useless electronic paper thing. Yeah, it's terrible. Yeah, we need the old ink so we can relabel it as if it were new ink. Yeah, and they do that too, and that would check my you-know-what. But I said I didn't want to go on a rant, but I'm going to go on a rant. They can't ship me 50 bottles of ink, but when the Mont Blanc Miles Davis came out, they screwed up my order and they put an extra digit in my ink order. I ordered 36 bottles of ink. They sent me 336 bottles of Miles Davis ink. I did not stutter. You heard that correctly. Because they knew it would be harder to ship. Well, I think it was just its complete incompetence, ineptitude. Yeah, and my problem with this is it was a terrible color of ink. It wasn't blue, it was kind of blue. Nice try, Jason. But, I mean, it'd been one thing if it would have been a really great color. Great. The problem was, yeah, it was less blue and more black. The problem was, they charged me for 336. Absolutely. You betcha they did. I got billed for the full amount. Too bad they didn't put any ink in that ink. And the conversation went like this. Well, actually, I'll tell you the funny part of the story, because there's a funny part. The day it was coming in, Lisa and I went to breakfast down the street. Great little breakfast diner. If you're ever here in Appleton, there was a great place called the Queen Bee. I used to go there a lot. They had a fantastic omelet. They've since been bought out. The owner retired. And we had just placed our order, and I told Dave, my manager, I said, call me or text me when the ink comes in, because we knew it was coming in that day. We wanted to get creative team ready, photographers. I was going to go grab my trumpet from home, and we were going to, get some pictures ready. And he called me just before my omelet was about to be served. And at the time, Dave had a flip phone. And so, you got to, to get a C, you got to press, the one button 3 times, all that stuff. And so he sends me a text, says Mont Blanc ink is here, 336 bottles. I'm like, that doesn't sound right. So I called my photographer. I said, hey, listen, we had another office for the creative team. And I said, hey, listen, Jason, go downstairs. The Mont Blanc ink is here. Go grab it and the pens and go up and shoot the pictures. And do me a favor, just verify how many bottles of ink we got. And he goes down, he grabs the ink for photography, he grabs the pen, and he sends me a text. Yeah, we got 336 bottles. So the problem is this was not an uncommon occurrence for Mont Blanc to screw stuff up. Now, usually they would screw up in my favor, but this time it was not the case. We were so concerned that, well, number one, it was going to be expensive to ship this back. Kids will never know the struggle of T9 texting. Yeah, they'll never know that struggle. Um, it was gonna, if I wanted to send it back, they're certainly not going to pay that dime. That's not happening ever. So it's going to cost me a fortune to send back 300 bottles of Mont Blanc ink. I'm not going to do that. And I can't be guaranteed they're going to credit me correctly. I thought maybe we'll get lucky. Maybe it won't be a terrible ink. Maybe it'll sell. And that was completely wrong. We had that ink for 6 years. It took 6 years to sell 336 bottles of ink. Apparently, there's not as many trumpet players. Yeah. We sold them all. We got rid of them all. Had sales on them. I mean, you don't make much money on Mont Blanc. So, you can't discount it too much, otherwise you're losing money. Yeah, I think it was 6 years. We finally got rid of them all. Yeah, I mean, they have their own rules that are just not. Well, I mean, it just doesn't make sense to, on some of that product your margin is 35%. And if you start factoring in shipping, you're like, well, you're not making anything. So, yeah. We parted ways, and while I do miss the ability to sell the Classique ballpoints to every new attorney that comes to town. We had a local person who quite regularly would lose her Mont Blancs and then just have her assistant call in and order a new one. A wallet, yeah. I had wallets. I was forced to buy the wallets. I had one for a while. It was a nice wallet, but it was like, we gave one to our son for Christmas one year because we had extra wallets. I couldn't sell them. I mean, they're like a $350, $400 wallet. Who buys a $400 wallet? They originally wanted me to buy belts. I said no. I'm not a clothing store. I sell pens here. No belts. I have to have the wallets. Yeah, there's no money left to put in it. Yeah. Yeah, I had one for a while. Well, and then the ones that they made me sell had like coin purses in it. A little coin pocket. Like what is this? The 50s? Yeah, it was ridiculous. You were excited for the Miles Davis ink until you saw it. Yeah, I mean, I was too. I mean, I thought, man, this could be cool. As a trumpet player in college, in high school, I'm all over this. This is cool. We're gonna, Yeah, the coin sense makes sense for Europe. Yeah, and that's what. I just recently deleted my. I should have kept it, but I'm a little chapped about it. I got rid of the original, my first order with Mont Blanc. I kept it all these years. The order sheet. I mean, it was a big deal, but it was so much. It was ridiculous. Cool and trumpet player applies basically to Miles Davis and no one else. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Sure does. That's the end of my Brian rant for the day. Miles Davis. Brian rant trademark. Yeah. Do I own any Montblanc pens then? I had no, not really. The last one I had was a 149 90th anniversary. I sold off, as things happened. Season 1, as it were. I was forced to sell off most of my pens. First chapter, yeah. I will say, and I apologize, I forget who asked the question, but when we were talking about ads and sponsorship and all that stuff, I am going to be posting these streams up on YouTube. So while after the first 7 days after it rolls off of the video on demand on Twitch, once you all know what the YouTube channel is, and I'm not telling you what it is yet, they'll be available there. So if you all miss something, that's where they'll be. Probably not probably right away, probably be a little bit of a lag. I do record them. And then what I'll do is I will shorten up the starting soon segment at the beginning. Nobody needs to watch 3 or 4 minutes of that. And then once that's done, they can be uploaded. Montblanc Luxury Lifestyle, that could be a good channel name. Yeah. True story. We got a really, really good long-term customer. Yeah, I'll deal with the ads there anyway. Well, yeah, so might as well monetize Switch. Yeah, like I say, we'll see. It depends on how much. My thought is I'm going to go down to 3 days a week. Mondays have always been it's the busiest day of the week because there's shipping going on, orders from Saturday, Sunday, overnight and all that stuff. And maybe Fridays, because Fridays would be, we'll be doing weekly podcasts again, and they'll be on Fridays. They'll be live. I think that's the way we're going to have to go to make it's the way it makes sense for us. Instead of doing a recorded thing and then having it, then I have to have my daughter edit it and just, why don't we just do it live? We can have all the little bits of everything, Yeah. So we're gonna do the podcast live. Those are gonna be on Fridays. Those will always be, that will not change because um, Lisa's got basically Fridays off half the year, and the other half of the year she only has to work until noon at her job. So, which is perfect because then my daughter doesn't live in town, so she lives about 25 minutes away. And she's not a morning person like her father. So by the time she gets up, gets here, gets the camera and the setup all set up, then, so we're looking probably, I don't know, 1:30, 2 o'clock maybe, which I realize is late, but it just simply cannot be on Thursdays anymore like it used to be. But it'll be a good way to make the week go out. And so if I'm doing that, I can't be streaming here. So it's better for you in the UK. Okay, well there you go. And we get a lot of people who watch it after the fact anyway. I mean, it's like, a very large percentage, of course. So yeah, I mean, we've just had a number of very loyal chatters here, and I just didn't want to punish them by making them watch videos, or not videos, but ads. We do have a number of overseas folks too, so yeah. All right, this is getting better. Yeah. If it were early afternoon, it'd be stuck at work. Yeah, that's true. This Parker Arrow was pretty destroyed, really beat up. So I think this is working out pretty good. I got a little bit more to go on this one. The clip is in the way. If we could get the clip off, it would be a better deal, but we'll keep working on that. What do we got? 20 to. This turned out okay. There's still one more spot on here. Now, unfortunately, you can still see. Yeah, there's the spot I'm talking about right there. You can still see this, but it's smooth. It's not. On the podcast right after Brad's for the raids. Yeah. Well, that worked out today. I was not expecting that. So this is coming along. I think that mark's always going to be there, but it's smooth now, and it's not. I think there's a little bit of a spot up there that maybe we can fill in. I think the cap is going to be. Still got to get a little bit more of this down. A little bit more here. We need to continue on with that. But the rest of it will smooth out nicely. It's just such an unusual unusual pen. What do we think the possibility of this jewel coming off is? Slim to none. Man, I hate these things. Not particularly good. Well, I have a grading system for the condition of the pens on the website. You know, it's really a hard thing to do. A number of people have tried to come up with a system. And admittedly, what I use is not perfect. But I try to give an honest evaluation of any kind of, certainly any kind of flaws. On the pens. Yeah, that went about as well as I thought it was going to go. Why do people glue those in? Well. Okay, well, I'm going to deal with that tomorrow. I don't think I was going to use that cap anyway, so. Sorry, I got an itch. This cap deserved a better jewel than that. I mean, that's still possibly usable. I think our pictures are going to show. I mean, I don't usually sell pens with cracks. You know, I don't cracks or those kinds of issues, and so usually everything is in good to excellent condition, which I realize doesn't help you determine what good is. Good sounds bad. There is someone out there who's tried to come up with a system. I forget the name of the system, but it's really rather poorly generated. Forget what the name of the system is. One of the boards on Facebook pokes a little fun at it. Hans, you know what that one is. What is that one called? The pen, like PIFS or something screwy like that. Yeah, what is it called? It is goofy. You read it and it's like, number one, you got to get past the Comic Sans typeface on the web page. Yeah, Q-Wigs. What is that? Let's see if I can pull it up here. Collector's Universal Writing Instrument Grading Scale. Oh no, what are we going to do? Best affordable wigs online. Archive.org is our friend. It's only ever indexed the website 4 times. Five times, apparently. I wonder if they do it based on traffic. Oh, I got water on my mouse. Come on. Come on. I thought a more normal thing like new, excellent, good, well used, heavily used spares and repairs. People know what kind of thing, yeah. Here we go. Original, unused, or still in package. So it's a number. 1 to 10. Almost new. As original, nearly unused. Flawless, magnified, functional, flawless, visually functional. First, examine your writing instrument carefully. Yeah, it's check fountain pen for dry ink, as this could render it non-functional. What? What? Um, they can be graded with or without ink. Beautiful, yeah. So beautiful is less than prime, almost new and new. New old stock usually grades A minus due to aging or fading. Yeah, see, just some of this stuff doesn't make any sense. Yeah, see, like I don't. Um, you need a separate scale for the eye of the beholder. You know, most of my pens are, they're new old stock. They're excellent. You know, excellent, very good, good with modifiers. Like right, like it's excellent, but Yeah, new old stock surely can't be beaten. How can an unboxed pen be better condition? Well, you know, if we're talking like old vintage, sometimes you get a new old stock pen that's maybe it's been sitting in the display case and it's hard rubber and it's oxidized, right? Well, yeah, but your Schaefer is not complete though. It's missing a nib. Yeah, unless it's in a window. Yeah, right. It's a P. Yeah, it's parts. So therefore, um, you should have put it in the package you shipped to me today. Is what you should have done because you don't need any more Schaefer parts. One step up from trash. Yeah, but it was beautiful. So like an A, you'll throw it away. You'll make sure the rest of us. Uh, I mean, really. I mean, it's yeah. It's and and we joke about it a little bit, and I get that somebody tried to do something, but it's so I give somebody credit for doing that, but it you just with pens with vintage pens you just can't um, you can't pigeonhole. There's no fine boxes you can put things in. Um, like each letter. Yeah, it's because I've got new old stock pens that don't look beautiful, right? You know, I probably have some in here. This is a new old stock pen, but the label is kind of wonky. It's off center, and maybe this one without the label looks nicer because it doesn't have a wonky label on it. So anyway, go down that rabbit hole. Um, all right, so for tomorrow, what do we got for tomorrow? Let's talk about tomorrow. We've got that C class you used woeful, incomplete garbage. There we go. It's a better system. There we go. Yes. Class used woeful, incomplete garbage. We're already gonna throw away a lot of pens. Well, the Desk Set Emporium Disposal Center is located here in Appleton. And we will send you a box for free with a return label on it, and you can just pile all your woeful, incomplete, and garbage pens and ship them back to me, and we will make sure they are safely disposed of. All right, we we've kind of I don't know how we got there. Oh, we Newland was asking about the website. Yeah, how we're gonna grade pens. Yeah, and really that's kind of my system is kind of like it's new old stock, or it's excellent, or it's very good, and usually it's like it could be excellent. The finish is perfect, but somebody did this once and you've got a tiny little ding in the end of the barrel. I mean, otherwise it's excellent. Or it's got a little drawer wear, or it's um, overall the trim is perfect, and this, that, and the other thing. So that's kind of the system I use. It's flexible, and hopefully the pictures show the full story. Um, but So tomorrow we got a nib we're gonna maybe continue to work on. I guess we'll test this 51. I'll figure out what we're gonna do with the cap for a cap on this. We can disassemble it and take the dents out. I guess we can do that. We could we tried it the other week with a jewel with less of a stem than this one, so you can use your version of the queuing system free of charge. Well, thank you so much. Woeful. That is so creative. I love that. We'll work a little bit more on this. Maybe we can finish. Oh, I guess there's like a couple spots on here that I still want to fill in. So this is going to be another week for that to finish up, and then maybe we just say, okay, enough's enough. I think the cap we can get finished, and there's one little spot on here that I really want to fill in. So we'll do that. We'll test these. Maybe if I find a cap, we can get this one out of here. And we'll see what else I can pull up. So we're hitting 5 o'clock. It's Lisa's late day at work, so it's time for me to get some exercise in. Hit the streets virtually, as they say. Since there are some new people on here, if any of y'all are on, have a great night. Hans, yeah, you too. Any of y'all on Zwift, ta-ta for now. You can look me up. I ride on Zwift 6 days a week. Can be found racing my little heart out. Actually, I don't race. I just ride. But I've yet to find any. I've only found a couple of pen people who actually ride on Zwift. I'll have to grade my ride tonight on the same scale. Class used, woeful, incomplete, garbage. That's I gotta write that down. That's fantastic, is what that is. Class. I'm gonna use my new Lamy here. This pen is fantastic, by the way. Class used. Maybe it could be useless. Woeful. Incomplete. Garbage. Have a good one from Corolla. Yeah. Jason, yeah, thank you. Hopefully some of you folks will be getting an email from me tomorrow. Maybe before the stream, if all is well. If not, hopefully tomorrow night. But there we are. Thanks, everyone. Thank you, Olive. Appreciate it. Have a good evening wherever you are. Good afternoon, good morning. And be kind, be well, and we will catch you tomorrow. All right. Take care. Thanks, everyone. Bye.